Hi guys, thank you so much for returning to my channel. Jurgen Klopp has told the world that he is going to leave Liverpool Football Club at the end of this season. This is a bolt from the blue. Nobody was expecting this. And I want to start this video, despite being a Tottenham Hotspur fan, by really laying tribute to Jurgen Klopp. I actually think he is one of the very few top-class elite managers in the world. I put him up there with Pep Guardiola, possibly as the two best, alongside maybe Carlo Ancelotti. You can't take away from what Ancelotti has achieved. Zidane, of course, achieved so much at Real Madrid as well, but I haven't really seen him anywhere else to put him in that top echelon. And then, maybe this is a little bit blinkered bias, but I think Ange Postecoglou has what it takes to break into that top two. But let's talk about what Jurgen Klopp has brought to the Premier League and English football. Let's be positive about him. There are so many people who slag off Klopp because he can get a bit scratchy, but I'll get onto that further down the line. But he brought that rock and roll gegenpressing football into the Premier League. Do you remember how much people were slagging him off when he started at Liverpool and he got his team to celebrate in front of the crowd at Anfield when they drew a game from behind in the last couple of minutes, and they celebrated with the crowd, and it was what was deemed to be a kind of very German thing to do, and not something we do in England. You do not celebrate at Anfield if you get a draw from the kind of jaws of defeat. But what he was doing was instilling a mentality into the club that hadn't been there for a long time, and for me, he single-handedly got Liverpool back from where they hadn't won a title for over 20 years. They were in the shadow of Manchester United. The fans hated it. They went through all sorts of trouble. Terrible managers, Roy Hodgson, Graham Souness back in the day. And Klopp came in, he took that club by the scruff of the neck and he dragged them up. Sure, John Henry and his company who came and bought the club, they supplied him with some funds. But it wasn't like Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool have done it in a financially doped way. They haven't cheated the way that Chelsea did under Abramovich, or that City have done with their 115 charges of financial doping and going against profit and sustainability rules, etc., etc. When Liverpool needed to sell a player to buy more players, they did it. They sold Coutinho. They got a massive amount of money for Coutinho, and they reinvested that in Alisson and Virgil van Dijk, the two absolutely vital cogs in the wheel that was Liverpool going on to win the Champions League final and, of course, the Premier League as well. The only club in recent years to break the Manchester City cheating, absolute, their overpowering control of the Premier League. And Jurgen Klopp did that. And I'm not surprised that he's resigning because he does look tired and it is exhausting going up against an absolute juggernaut like Man City, who every time they need something, they just splash out 60-70 million pounds on a player, or 100 million pounds on a Jack Grealish, or the rumours of the 700,000 pounds a week or whatever it is that Erling Haaland is on. So I wanted to pay tribute to Jurgen Klopp at the start of this. I love his breed of honesty. I love his passion, the passion on the sidelines. It doesn't have to be that way with every manager, but it certainly adds to something with his team. You know that his team love to hear him on the sidelines, telling them what to do, getting behind them, that kind of gritted teeth mentality he has, that he just roars his team on. And he has brought that passion back into the Premier League, if you ask me. Now, I mentioned his scratchiness earlier. There are some things, of course, that he does that wind up other football fans. It's always going to be the way. When you've got a winner, it's not going to be celebrated by everyone. But the Liverpudlian fans, the Liverpool fans, absolutely adore him, and I can see why. And that scratchiness, that anger, for instance, with the 12:30 kickoff stuff, and the other week he slagged off journalist Marcus Buckland when he made a joke to him about not liking 12:30 kickoffs. That is just Jurgen Klopp instilling the us against the world mentality into Liverpool Football Club even more. He knew that after the last couple of seasons, he needed to rebuild that team. He needed to rebuild the central midfield, get rid of those aging legs in the likes of Wijnaldum and Jordan Henderson, and replace it with young players. And he wants those young players who've just come into the club to see that he will fight for them tooth or nail, be that on the pitch, on the side of the pitch, in every interview, in every press conference. And he is amazing at that. So when other fans, opposition fans, and I've been annoyed by it in the past too, kind of get wound up by Klopp, fighting against you all the time, it's because he is an unbelievable manager. He's doing it for his club, and you would want him to do that for your club too. Let's face it, when Spurs won 2-1 against Liverpool at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this season, and Jota, no, it wasn't Jota, was it? It was Diaz had the goal disallowed wrongly because it wasn't offside, and then VAR came out, PGMOL came out and apologised, and then Jurgen Klopp alluded to the fact that he thought there should be a replay. Spurs fans were absolutely up in arms. But if you're a Liverpool fan in that moment, you love that your manager is fighting tooth and nail for you. It's straight out of the Alex Ferguson school of management. It's us against them, us against the world, and you do whatever it takes, you say whatever it takes to put a seed of doubt into the authorities. And have Liverpool got more good refereeing decisions since then? It's not for me to say, but I can say for sure that Tottenham Hotspur have not received much from Premier League referees since then. We've only had one penalty, I think, all season, nothing else. But this is not what I'm talking about. I'm not complaining about that. It's just elite management. I love it. One thing I wanted to talk about, having just mentioned Alex Ferguson, it does make me wonder. He's come out now, it's January, and said he's going to leave. Jurgen Klopp is going to leave at the end of the season. That leaves a lot of time. They're going for the Premier League. They're still in the Europa League. They've got a chance of winning that. They're still in the FA Cup. Is there a chance that he could do an Alex Ferguson-esque reversal, a change of mind? Back in the day, Alex Ferguson came out early in a season and said, I'm going to retire at the end of the season. And by that end of the season, he came back out and said, actually, my wife has said she doesn't want me around the house. I'm going to stay. And he stayed on probably for another decade, won so much more stuff. So I do wonder whether, I'm not saying that Klopp thinks he's going to change his mind now, but I do think there's a lot of time left for the fans to really get behind him and possibly make him re-energized and think, actually, maybe there's more we could do. But who knows? Let's talk a little bit about potential Jurgen Klopp replacements. Xabi Alonso, I would say, is right at the top of the possibilities. He's doing an incredible job at Bayer Leverkusen, ex-Liverpool legend. Lots of people have come out, ex-managers of his, and said they knew. Jose Mourinho, for instance, said they knew Xabi Alonso would be a manager. Xabi Alonso's dad was a manager, and he was a thinking man's footballer, tactically aware, always scanning, looking around the pitch, and you can totally see why Leverkusen are ripping things up in the Bundesliga at the moment. Absolutely making Bayern Munich look average as they're so far ahead of them. And of course, with my Tottenham hat on, Harry Kane having gone to Bayern Munich because he thinks he's guaranteed to win the Bundesliga there and win trophies, the pressure is on him. So Xabi Alonso, I would say, would be up there. Big Ange Postecoglou. I didn't think about this, and I don't want to think about this, but I called my best mate and I said to him, because I've been saying for a while now, I think Spurs are putting their ducks in a row, getting good signings in. They've got the right manager in, so that when, in a couple of seasons' time, if Jurgen Klopp were to get tired of Liverpool, as he got tired of Borussia Dortmund and resign, and with Man City facing the 115 financial fair play charges, could Tottenham put themselves in a position to really challenge for the title when those two managers are either gone or Klopp is gone and maybe Man City get relegated? It is a possibility. Well, I called my best mate to talk about that and say, I told you, and this could happen soon. And he said, yeah, but Big Ange Postecoglou supported Liverpool as a boy. And it's true. He did. However, I don't think Ange Postecoglou would go to Liverpool on the basis that I think Liverpool and Spurs are kind of slightly too close in terms of swimming in the same waters squad-wise at the moment, especially with Salah kind of getting into his mid-30s, well, not mid-30s, but he's 31, going into 32, and picking up injuries as well. And also, I just think it's very hard for clubs to find managers who can follow legacies successfully. And Jurgen Klopp definitely has a really unbelievably successful legacy at Liverpool. And whoever takes that job is kind of on a bit of a hiding to nothing. Look at what happened to Manchester United after Ferguson left. Very difficult to do it. Now, any older Liverpool fans watching will say, well, what about Shankly? What about Paisley? What about Kenny Dalglish? And it has happened back then, but it is very rare. Nobody followed Matt Busby for a long time, decades, after he left Manchester United, and it's the same now with Ferguson. So, going into this season now, Liverpool, they're top of the league by, I think, 7 points at the moment. Obviously, other clubs have games in hand. And as I mentioned, in all those other trophies, their fans at Anfield will be absolutely right behind them every single game now. And if Tottenham aren't going to chase Liverpool down and Manchester City down to put in a title challenge this season, and I think realistically it might be too early for them, then I would love to see Liverpool win it in Klopp's last season in charge. I love the way that he's kind of re-energized that team, got youth into the midfield. They've got some lovely talent there. And could they do it? Could they win a couple of trophies in their final season? The last thing, under Klopp, the last thing I want to say is something a little negative, and, you know, It's not it is Klopp's fault, but it was difficult for me. Obviously, Liverpool beat Tottenham Hotspur in the Champions League final of 2019. I was in Madrid for that. I only enjoyed that day for 22 seconds before Moussa Sissoko stuck his arm up in the air and the ball was hit into his armpit and given as a penalty, and Tottenham weren't in the game after that. But you've got to give credit to Jurgen Klopp. He absolutely closed that game out for Liverpool that day. Tottenham didn't have a sniff after that. Harry Kane was leggy, probably shouldn't have played. And you've got to say, Liverpool winning the Champions League after some of the dross management they had for many, many years before that, all down to Jurgen Klopp and him winning the Premier League. And sometimes, even if you're an opposition fan, a rival, you've got to put your hands up and say when someone is an unbelievably brilliant manager. And also, Klopp always just seems to me like he's a good man. So fair play to him for coming out early, saying he's tired. He's not hidden behind anything. He's not worried about putting pressure on his team, and I think it'll work in their advantage. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think about Klopp's decision to retire. Resign from Liverpool. No, he hasn't said he's retiring. In fact, a lot of the rumours are saying he might be interested in the German job going forward. Be interesting to see if he does that. But let me know in the comments your thoughts. And please do press subscribe on the channel. It's youtube.com/@BarnabySlater_. Thanks so much for watching.